All right, picture this. The first words out of my neighbor's mouth that morning weren't good, morning, or even a half-hearted, "Hey." Nope. Instead, she's shouting at me across the front yard. "I told you not to park that thing there. You're blocking the access again." For a second, I honestly thought she was talking to someone else, maybe a delivery guy or a random car. But nope, it was me, and by that thing, she meant my wheelchair, the icing on the cake. She yells, "It's my spot! Susan, get over it!" Yeah, that was my introduction to living in a neighborhood with an HOA run by someone straight out of your worst sitcom, except honestly, not even TV writers would dare make her this over the top. Let me back up a second, because you got to see the whole picture. My neighborhood looks peaceful. Small lawns, kids on bikes, everyone waving politely. But underneath all that, it's like living in Pleasantville with a twist, an evil twist named Karen. That's not even her real name, but it fits so well that everyone used it behind her back. Karen ran the HOA like it was the Supreme Court, except she was the judge, jury, and let's be real, the executioner too. She literally measured people's grass with a ruler and snapped photos if your trash can was out for more than, I kid you not, 4 minutes. I wish I was exaggerating. After I had my accident, don't worry, that's a story for another day, I started using a wheelchair. It took me months to scrape together enough money to build a simple ramp for my front steps. Nothing fancy, just something that let me get inside my own house without calling my brother or my mom every single time. The day that ramp was finished, my mom cried. And honestly, so did I. It felt like for the first time since everything changed, I finally got a piece of my old life back. But happiness is always on a timer. When you live in a place ruled by a Karen. 2 days. That's how long I had before she showed up on my porch, clutching her little clipboard like it was some kind of holy artifact. Didn't even say hi. Just stood there with her lips all pinched up and said, "We have a problem." I looked at her and then at my ramp, honestly thinking maybe a squirrel had chewed on the handrail or something. But no, she was staring at the ramp like it was a bomb. "This structure is not approved by the HOA, she snapped. "It's a wheelchair ramp," I said, because I mean, what else could I say? I literally can't get into my house without it. She just smiled, one of those smiles villains practice in the mirror, and said, "I understand, but rules are rules." That night, I got an email from the HOA. Attached was a so-called policy update, Section 14, no wheel zone. Get this, no visible wheeled devices or structures in front of homes, no bikes, no scooters. And right there snuck in no ramps, like they thought I wouldn't notice. At the bottom it said the rule had passed last month. Karen's digital signature, some kind of scribble meant to look like board approval. Something in me snapped right then because I'd moved in 3 months ago and I still had my old HOA rulebook printed and tucked away in a binder. I flipped through every page. Guess what? No Section 14. No wheel zone. Nothing. It was as fake as the plastic flowers Karen put out in winter. So I decided to do something about it. Next HOA meeting, I rolled in rampless because she'd already threatened me with daily fines if I didn't remove it while they reviewed. My arms ached from dragging myself up those stupid steps. My neighbor James Goodguy, always out walking his dog, held the door for me and whispered, "This is messed up, man." But I can't say anything. She'll come for my fence next. Inside, the board looked like they were holding a congressional hearing or something. Karen sat right in the middle, chin up, the whole "I am the law" vibe radiating off her. I kept my voice calm, tried to anyway. "This new rule," I said, "it's fake. It wasn't in the last handbook. You made it to target my ramp." Karen's face went cold. "You're out of line." The board approved it. I looked at the other board members. Not a single one would meet my eye. One guy looked so nervous I half expected him to dive under the table. "I want to vote," I said, "with the neighborhood." Karen banged her little gavel. "Motion denied. This meeting is over." And that was it, my big appeal dead in the water. Nobody stood up for me. Not one person. I left shaking, trying not to let anyone see how close I was to tears. But anger has a funny way of sharpening you. If Karen wanted to play judge and lawyer, I'd show her what a real one looked like. First thing I did when I got home was take photos of every single page of the old handbook and the new fake no-wheel zone rule she emailed, It was almost laughable, different fonts, weird formatting, and only her name at the bottom with no dates, no meeting notes, no signatures from anyone else. Then I started talking to my neighbors one by one, not in meetings, but out in driveways and over fences away from Karen's prying eyes. When it was just us, people started telling the truth. She never mentioned a vote, one said. She just told us it was done. Another neighbor said, "My kid's bike got a warning too. This is all about control." That's when I realized it wasn't just me. Karen's power depended on everyone being too scared or too tired to fight back. So I called a lawyer who specialized in disability rights and HOA drama. When I told him about the fake rule, he actually laughed out loud. "If this is how it looks," he said, "your HOA's in big trouble. And Karen? Well, let's just say she's in for a surprise." We filed a complaint not just with the HOA, but with the city and the court. We included a little bonus: suspected document forgery. The day the city inspector came, I was sitting on my porch steps, arms burning, chest aching from having to drag myself up with no ramp. Karen came strutting out of her house like she was leading a parade. "What is this?" she hissed, glaring at the inspector's badge. "We got a complaint," the inspector said, totally calm, "about an accessibility ramp being removed." I saw curtains twitch all up and down the street. Phones appeared in windows. At least 3 people were recording. James leaned on his car, watching like he was at a front row seat at a drama show. Karen waved her clipboard like a sword. "This is a private HOA issue. We have rules here." She shoved the no-wheel zone paper at him. The inspector frowned, reading it. "Do you have the original bylaws?" he asked. Karen hesitated. "These are the updated ones." "Original," he repeated. "From when the neighborhood was built." She didn't have them, of course. But I did. I rolled forward and held up my binder. "You mean these?" The inspector took my copy, flipped through, and looked up at her. "There is no Section 14, he said, totally deadpan, "and certainly no no-wheel zone." Someone in the crowd snorted. Another neighbor whispered, not even quietly, "She really tried it, huh?" All the phones were pointed at Karen now. The inspector turned to her. "Ma'am, did you create a fake section and present it as HOA law?" Karen's face went scarlet. "I was just clarifying the rules by adding some..." "Without process, without a vote," he cut in. That was only the beginning. A few weeks later, I found myself in an actual courtroom. I sat next to my lawyer, hands sweating so much I thought I might slide out of my chair. Karen sat on the other side at the HOA table, looking like she'd swallowed a lemon. The judge was this calm, older guy with eyes like a hawk. He did not look amused. We laid out everything: pictures of my ramp, emails from Karen, screenshots of the fake rule, witness letters from neighbors, the inspector's report. The judge turned to Karen. "Did you author this so-called Section 14? She tried to squirm her way out. "I was only doing what's best for the community. Wheels in the front make the place look cluttered." The judge stared at her for a long time, so long you could hear people fidgeting. Then in this low, steady voice he said, "You do understand that making up rules to target a disabled person's access to their own home is not only wrong, but illegal." Karen opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Then he did something I'll never forget. He picked up her fake no-wheel zone paper, looked at it for a second, and ripped it clean in half. The sound echoed around the courtroom like a slap. "Section 14 is void," he said. "The HOA will immediately allow the ramp to be rebuilt. You will cover all costs, legal fees, and a fine for violating disability access laws." And then he turned to the board. "I strongly suggest you find new leadership." Somebody in the back actually clapped before the bailiff shushed them. News of the ruling spread like wildfire. Someone posted the story, online clips from the inspector visit sketches from the court day. The comments were brutal. People started calling her No-Wheel Karen, Ramp Ripper, and my personal favorite, Queen of Nothing. Within a month, Karen resigned for personal reasons. No one was sad. The board voted in new people, including my neighbor James, who actually has a heart. My ramp was rebuilt stronger and nicer than before. The inspector came back and gave me a thumbs up. Neighbors brought over cookies, said sorry for not speaking up sooner, offered to help if I ever needed anything. And now when I roll up that ramp, I don't feel small or embarrassed. I feel like I won. Every time I see a kid's bike or a scooter on someone's front porch, I smile. Wheels are everywhere now and nobody says a thing. As for Karen, Well, she still lives here, but she parks in the back and avoids everyone. Sometimes I catch her looking at my ramp. I always give her a sweet, polite smile, the kind that says, "You tried to take this from me and you lost." You know, if you'd asked me before all this happened, I would have told you that people like Karen always win because they have the rules, the power, the clipboard. But that's not the lesson I walked away with. Turns out, sometimes it just takes one person refusing to back down, refusing to be small for things to change. It's not about being loud. It's about being stubborn in the right way, about not letting fear or shame keep you quiet. And yeah, it's about neighbors finally remembering that we're all living here together and that there's a line between order and cruelty, and maybe, just maybe, you don't let a clipboard cross it. So now every time I roll up my ramp, I think about how easy it would have been to give up and how glad I am that I didn't. That's the real win. As for Karen, well, she lost her gavel, her title, and honestly, most people's respect. But let me ask you this. Do you think justice was served, or was that just karma doing its thing? Where do you draw the line between enforcing the rules and just being a bully? Let me know what you think. Share your thoughts about right and wrong about justice. Or tell me about a time you had to stand up for yourself, because trust me, there's a lot more to these stories than what makes it into the HOA newsletter.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video. Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.